you Japanese? Or people like, oh, from Korea. I mean, come on, it's just ridiculous. As Indian women, we are so used to getting groped in public places. But if you're from the Northeast, that happens to you much more often. And इतना harass किया है उन लोगों को कि harassment और harassment लगता नहीं है. See, I mean, life is unfair. You're always gonna feel you deserve more, you deserve better, why me? समय से पहले और किस्मत से ज़्यादा किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता है. Party!
Hey guys, welcome to Midday.com. Today I'm in conversation with Shayani Gupta. Hi Shayani, thank you so much for joining.
Hi!
How's the lockdown going?
Yeah, it's like a mixed bag, honestly, because I mean, I'm actually having a great time by myself, doing everything. But obviously, like you do start doing one thing and you miss out on another. Like you have to like plan the whole day around your housework and interviews. And I've had 3 releases during lockdown.
Right.
So, like lots of promotion. So it's been like almost a working sort of lockdown.
Yeah.
And some of the days, in fact, my friends make fun of me like, you've never done so much in so many interviews in your life, because I'm somebody who doesn't enjoy doing a lot of interviews. Like, I'm like, arey, kitna baat karenge apne bare mein. But this whole lockdown, that's all I've been doing.
So I have to say congratulations for the immense success of Akoni. I must say it was a lovely film, and I personally loved it so much. It was one of the first films, in mainstream Hindi cinema that has been based on Northeasterners. What was it that drew you to this particular film?
First of all, I got a call from Dilip Shankar, who's the casting director of the film, and he's an extremely respected, senior person, and he's a casting director, actor himself. And I've always wondered, and I knew that, I've known him like through Adil Hussain. So I knew him, I knew of him, I had met him. I always have wondered, like, why does Dilip never send me a script? Because he does very interesting casting, for, these very interesting crossover films. And then finally I got a call. I remember I was in a car and I got a call from Dilip Shankar. I was like, oh, cool. And he's a beautiful, beautiful man. So when he calls, I mean, that, he wouldn't just, I mean, there's a reason why he would call. So I picked up and he's like, listen, I want you to read a script. It's a breakthrough script out of India and it's a really fabulous script. I think you'd fit in. Please read and let us know what you feel. And then I was like, of course. So I read it immediately and I knew Nick through some common friends. And I loved the fact that, first of all, it was a story that was being told by somebody from there. So it was authentic. It was also, trying to tell a story representing people from the Northeast and how varied the culture was, because it's not really like one homogeneous entity. And in the mainstream, so all of those things. And I thought it was very funny. It was very funny on paper. And Upasana's character was damn funny. It was just like adorable, I mean, she's nothing like I am. She's like nothing close to what I've played ever. But I was like, okay, cool. So I auditioned. I sent them a self-test. I remember I was shooting for FOMO shots in Goa for a season. And I got like Ankur, who's my co-actor. I forced him. I was like, please come do this, shoot this test for me. And he came and shot it and I sent it. And they were like, on the same day, they were like, oh, we love the test. You're on board. So it was that simple, really. So there was no reason for me to not do it, honestly.
So even when you did the test, like, did you get that accent and that thing right at that time?
Not really, but little bit. Because, so I did 2 scenes. One was that scene which is Zorin loves children, I love him. So, I will get married, that scene, which actually is a lovely scene. I don't like the way it's turned out in the film. Honestly, that one scene I've complaints with because we shot it in Bombay in patchwork. The scene we shot originally was also beautiful. And it just, the Upasana's way of like the language on paper and the rhythm of on paper was like that. So even if I couldn't have spoken like myself, I had to get that twang anyway. It had a little bit of that. So why not important? So it is important. So it just has a natural twang to it. It's very difficult to explain. So I think that's why it was really nice on paper itself, I mean.
And there are still so many prejudices and stereotypes existing even today. You've said that you've had a lot of friends from the Northeast. Have they ever been a victim to the racism?
All the time. In fact, some of my closest friends in life are, from the Northeast. In college, I had friends. Obviously, I went to LSR. There were a lot of people in DU, a lot of my classmates who were, there was Jennifer from Manipur and a bunch of other people. They would have these strange experiences. Like Delhi was always supposed to be unsafe. Right. And DTC buses were always supposed to be shady, but they would just have like an extra set of bad experience, and recently one of my co-actors, Milo, she put in perspective that, as Indian women, we are so used to getting groped in public places, and it's something that is a reality for us, right? But if you're from the Northeast, that happens to you much more often and much more than, it would happen to people from the mainland. And it's ridiculous, right? And throughout your life, when you we all went to, say, Delhi for our undergrads. We were all for the first time staying alone in PGs, hostels, etc. There is a set of getting used to and, coming on your own, that we all have gone through. But when you're from that part of the country, you are, first of all, not given PGs. You're looked at as, apparently, you're like bloody sex workers, and you're looked at in a certain way through a certain lens of prejudice and hate. And then when you actually get into trouble, there are very few people who are willing to help you. So those kind of things. And there's even in DU, like I remember my friends telling me, like boys, they would get into constant trouble and constant physical altercations because they would get they would be catcalling, just bullied, and physically abused so many places. So and how much can you take, right? Because when you're younger, boys tend to get angry, and physical violence tends to break out, which is very unfortunate. And then with time, you get your skin gets thicker, and and then you start ignoring it, then you eventually start laughing about it, and then that becomes the normal, right?
True.
And I've seen that with all my friends. In fact, Lynn, who was my co-actor, she was telling me the sad part is, I mean, in an interview only, she was saying that the sad part is that we literally stop noticing these things because you get so desensitized to it, and that's the sad part, that itna harass kiya hai un logon ko कि harassment और harassment लगता नहीं है, वो normal लगता है.
Right.
खतरनाक चीज है. मतलब आप इसके बारे में सोचे तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि किसी को इतना दबाया है कि उसका दबा हुआ स्टेट ही उसको नॉर्मल लगता है. So yeah, even in Bombay, I mean, I would go out with my friend and we'd stand in a movie, like in a film queue, ticket queue, or to get popcorn, and somebody would be like, "Oh, are you Japanese?" Or people like, "Oh, from Korea." And I mean, come on, it's just ridiculous how little people know.
This film is almost globally relevant now because of what's happening all over the world. But I think it's a nice way of putting something so serious in such a lighthearted and such a funny and nice way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And personally, what was your experience of making and eating akhoni?
Making akhoni was so anyway, the shoot was damn tough, I mean, it was a really small budget film with a lot of things that needed to be done and things like that. So obviously we were shooting in Delhi, in Humayunpur, in very, very cramped up spaces in July. We were dying, literally dying. People were getting hospitalized left, right, center. It was crazy. I think I was one of the very few people who was still standing straight. People were really miserable because it was a lot of, and also we shot with a lot of food. And when you see the feast, which is, we actually shot it in a basement with zero ventilation, with 100 odd people in there. And this food was brought in, say, very, very early in the morning or late the previous night. And the food was starting to rot, and that fume we were inhaling. Okay.
Oh, shit.
And it was people were anyway feeling faint and all that. And then, if that wasn't worse enough, and anyway people were very unwell by then due to other reasons, and I mean, we started serving people. So thankfully I got saved because I didn't eat. I was just serving. And that food that unfortunately they hadn't kept the food that people would actually eat frozen, okay, or in like refrigerated
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And it was just the same rotten food that was fed to people.
Oh
And
shit.
Lynn was fine till then. And I remember I sat Lynn down in a shot, and you can't say, and Lynn had to eat because there was a shot going on, and she fell sick, and so many people. So before the last day, which is actually a lot of the walk that we do, it's very funny because Asinla, who's playing Meenam,
Mhm.
she and Merinla both were hospitalized the previous night. And we were in the hospital, and then, making like up all night, making them ORS. Lil and I were taking care of them. And like Asinla was literally not being able to stand. That's why we were holding her hand from both sides and making her walk. So it was just
Going towards the
ridiculous.
wedding party.
Yeah. That whole like swag wala walk.
Right,
It's
right,
actually
right,
just
right.
like she was on drips basically till then. So she's hardly being able to walk. So it was like ridiculous. But Akhone, when we were cooking, I mean, the first batch really was smelling. And I think since we were shooting for it for like 2-3 days, I started smelling like Akhone because I was like with it all the time. And people were like, oh, please go, like that. But yeah, I mean, I love eating akhone. There was a restaurant called Heritage, which is very close to, like right next to where we were shooting in Humayunpur. And we ate there like Naga food day and night and afternoon and evening. For every meal we ate there, and we ate a lot of akhone. I don't eat a lot of pork. I mean, I just don't feel comfortable in India. So I ate akhone fish actually instead. And even, I mean, akhune can also be made with like vegetables,
Vegetables,
like,
yeah.
vegetarian. Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't try that, but yeah, I ate a lot of fish with akhune.
But in reality, while making it, it does
When,
emit this very strong pungent
yeah,
smell.
it is a strong smell, but when you're shooting, and also, uh, first of all, you don't care about these things. When you're shooting, you have different, like, you have a like, time is running out, you have to get the shot. It's just like there are 100 other things, and
Yeah.
in a small film, like there are 1,000 things that are going wrong. So the last one you want to, like, even your mind goes to that is, smell. But having said that, the akhune there were a lot of batches of akhune that were brought in. So the first batch smelled more than, the eventual batches, because they couldn't keep it for that long. So I think the smell is directly proportional to the, like the fermentation. So you have to keep it for a while. But since we were needing a lot of akhune, the woman who was in charge, the food handler, had to get, like, we were like, oh, akhune is over, and she was like, how much akhune will you put? Because he had to make like batches and batches of
Right.
the pot. So yeah, I mean, I don't remember it smelling like me being like, oh my god, I'm going crazy kind of thing, because I think we were all just very, very involved in the making of it, and getting the shot right, basically.
In your past interviews, you've mentioned how you look into every little detail of your character. Like, for instance, you have a bus ticket under your watch for Dolly LLB, or the green plastic bag in Article 15. What was that one detail in Akhone?
It's like a small film, and I knew it, and had spoken to Nick. So even like I had actually taken from Bombay a lot of clothes that I could have used for the character. So I had like a suitcase full of clothes that I had taken of mine, and like all these like clips, and I had taken a bunch of like accessories, everything that I like, all the accessories I wore in the film, I had taken it, and much more, obviously. And then Eddie, who's the costume designer of the film, he and I went and shopped, and we knew that the one outfit that has to be there throughout the film, that has to be, and we were literally not, I mean, we went and we were like, we're not happy, but finally we found one outfit, which is the pink dress.
Yeah.
Which and Eddie was just, and I was very sure about it, because, the cut and it was just very like cute, like nice, like the print was nice, it was like soft floral, it's not in the face. And then we also like the shirt, because, then we can play with the shirt and sort of show continuity, and time passing and all that. The last costume, which is the, the the Nepali costume. Now nobody, and the day we were supposed to shoot, the costumes were not ready. And we were like, what is going on? And we kept asking, but I think there were a lot of details and there were so many. So people started, like Lynn had already brought her own, sister's wedding outfit and, things like that. So a lot of people had brought their own costumes. Now I didn't have any, like, I'm not from that part of the world, right? I didn't have anybody who could help me. So what I did was, there's a cafe called Culture in Humayunpur, and Bimal, who runs the cafe, who's the owner of the cafe, he's Nepali. So I literally called him and I said, Bimal, can you help me to get the costume? The shirt I wear is actually his mother's shirt. Ooh. He got me his mother's shirt. The gold jewelry that I wear is actually his mother's gold jewelry.
Wow.
And the pota that I wear, the green pota, my hairstylist, who's Nepali, who I had actually taken as my hairstylist and dialect coach, she, amazing common sense. She just happened, and she's Nepali, she just happened to carry it. She was like, maybe she'll need it, things like that. So she got it. And then we put the look together. We went back and forth, but it was just, and I was so like, again, I was like so about every pleat, and we saw some like 100 references and just really got, so the whole look, actually, me and my hairstylist put it together, honestly, the whole thing, like from hair to what lipstick we should use, to how we should do the makeup, to what earring, to everything.
And what was that character trait that defined your role in FOMO Shots, please?
With Damini, I was obsessed with the OCD part in season 1, and I obviously went in thinking that, I can do a lot catering to the OCD, because I know a lot of people who have OCD, including my mother, and I know how obsessive it can get. So if I've touched the cup like this, and so I can just do this, and so there are a lot of tiny things that don't have to be underlined, but you can do it. So I was like really going into it with with coasters and my props and my tissue paper, and it was just, and then everyone was like, including the director, they were like, Shiny, calm down, don't do any of this, because it's just looking neurotic. Just sit down, and whatever is is written, just do that. I was still not able to completely give in. I was like, yeah, thoda to karna hi padega. So I was still doing little by little, but I just gave up. I was like, if the director doesn't want it, then who am I to, sort of do it? So I was like, fine. But in FOMO Shots, there are too many people telling you what to do. Yeah, it's just very difficult. You do little things. Because there are too many eyes. You do one thing and somebody will be like, Arey, what is she doing with that? And then you do one thing, like, Arey, what is she doing with that? So it's just too many people. So then you're like, just say your lines, get out of here. Just, so you can't do a lot, honestly.
Okay. And does that come from, like where you studied with FTII? Does that attention to detail and things come from there? Or does it come from, like you said?
I think it's a mix of both. I think I've always been somebody who's had, you can't just get it overnight. I don't think that happens. So I must have been somebody, I can't really remember now if I think, but I've always been a very quiet child. Like I've always been like sitting in one corner and observing. I was also outgoing, but mostly if I'm not doing something, I just sit, and I wasn't very chatty, So I would just sit and like observe. And I think it comes from there, like just observing small things and observing people and, things around you. So I think it must have come from there, but definitely FTII, because I used to assist a lot in art direction. And so much so that my acting classmates would just make so much fun of me. If you ever interview any of them, they can tell you, they were always making fun of me. Ki, Arey, isko scene work करना होता है, ये मतलब scene से पहले art लेके आती है. So I would have the entire classroom art directed, like every little corner art directed. Even if I had said my line here, like my scene here, I would have the other corners of the room art directed. So I was obsessed. My back, my slip disc actually aggravated, and my other helpful friends, their back went for a toss because I would always perpetually get furniture from prop department to the classroom and get them to climb up the stairs with huge like tables and like sofa and all. So yeah, I was always obsessed with art. I've always been actually.
Shani, while your work has always portrayed courage in terms of the scripts that you've chosen, in real life too, you've always been someone who's spoken out against injustice. Case in point being the CAA protest at August Kranti Maidan. I had seen you, you were over the fence protesting so fearlessly. I was there. So when it comes to working in an industry like Bollywood, have you ever been victim to injustice or unfairness for that matter?
See, I mean, life is unfair. Come on, let's face it. I mean, you're always going to feel you deserve more, you deserve better. Why me? Why not me? Things like that. Everyone faces that. Even people who we think are in a place of privilege or more privilege, because privilege is also subjective. And there's always going to be times when you'll be happy with where you are or unhappy with where you are, and that's life. And a lot of times in life, it might feel like it's not convenient to stand up for a cause or stand up for what is right, but you still have to do it because ultimately if you are quiet, you are complicit to the problem, so that. But when it comes to personal injustice, yeah, it's always been there, it's always going to be there, of course. Have I not felt like, oh, why am I not getting more work of with the directors I want to work with? I mean, I am doing a lot of work, but if someone else, say one of my other friends from FTI, see me, they always tell me, oh, you're doing so well, so I understand that I'm still at a better place than a lot of people, and I have to thank my stars for it. I have to thank my heart, my fortune and my hard work and my perseverance, all of that. So you have to be grateful, but at the same time, you will always feel like you deserve more and you deserve better, and that's the lifelong, thing. The day you feel like, oh, everything is great and I am so content, I don't think that'll ever happen unless you really reach that spiritual place where you're like, you know what, everything happens I'm a little bit there. I really believe that everything happens for a reason, a little bit like a person. But yeah, there's a long way to go.
Are you into like any spiritual practice or something?
I do meditate because one has to,
right,
to keep sane. But it doesn't happen every day. But I do it. I try doing it. In the lockdown, I've tried doing it more often than I would otherwise. Recently, I was listening to His Holiness Dalai Lama, and those small things he was saying. If you can follow those small, simple things, your life would be sorted. But it's so difficult to.
It's easier said than done. Yeah,
very easy to say, and it also sounds very simple. But it's not easy. If it was easy, then we wouldn't be here. The world wouldn't be this way.
So, Shani, I don't know if it's true, but your Wikipedia page says that you were in Harry Met Sejal and in Fukre Returns.
No, I was never there. I didn't even know that.
That is what. So you need to correct your
Imtiaz
Wikipedia.
Ali, I've never had a conversation with Imtiaz Ali. Like, I don't even think he knows I don't think he knows I exist. But I think it must be a fan or somebody who's just put like these random. And there are stuff on Wikipedia sometimes like, have I done this? Or because also I have a bad memory. Sometimes I'm like, have I done this film? Maybe I have. I don't know. Maybe the name has changed, because I've literally done. Sometimes I don't remember. But no, definitely Harry Met Sejal. I wish I was in it. And Fukre Returns, so definitely not. I met Mrig Lamba, who's the director, at the screening, at the premiere of Fukre Returns. So clearly, I couldn't have stuck with it.
As someone who has worked her way hard, by studying at FTI and who's had so much talent, have you ever felt that you didn't get an opportunity because of someone else who probably comes from a more privileged background or a film family? Have you auditioned for a big banner film that you might not have got because of that?
I have auditioned for tons of things. Some I haven't gotten, some I have, some I've got and said no to. The little bit of wisdom that I think I've had is also the fact that I believe for a fact that समय से पहले और किस्मत से ज्यादा किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता है. And I believe that if something is meant for you, it will happen to you. And I honestly believe if it's a part that's supposed to be mine, and it's supposed to, because actors are mediums to bring a certain character to life. And if I'm supposed to be that medium, it will be me. That's how Margarita happened. You know, they had auditioned the whole country. I was away for 5 months and I came back and I got the part. And of course I worked hard for it. It didn't just fall on my lap, but you know, it happened. So I truly believe, yeah, if something is meant to happen, it'll happen. Just there's no point fretting about it. And honestly, I have to tell you that every part that I've either not gotten or I've said no to, when I've seen the film, I'm like, it's fine. it's a good thing. I didn't do it. You know, I didn't get it. So definitely, man, I am very, very happy. Of course, there are parts that, you know, I've auditioned for, and it would have been nice if I had gotten it, maybe, you know. But you're not supposed to, because it's in somebody else's kitty and it's part of their journey. And I really have this, I mean, it sounds profound, but you know, that's the only way to keep yourself sane. And I truly believe that if I can't be the only person able to play a certain part, I don't want to do it. Right. And I don't want to sound pompous, but I truly feel that if I play a part, it should only just be me who's able to bring that character to life. Because I really, when I am invested in a part, I go head on, you know, and I wouldn't want somebody else, you know, it should just be like me or nobody else, you know, and if it's somebody else, and I have actually told people in meetings that, you know, if you think somebody else is more capable and more fit for that part, please go ahead and take it. I often come out of auditions and I've recommended other people as well, you know, for the same part, you know. Like I remember for Newton, I came out and gave like almost 33 names for the same part of other actors. Yeah, these are not things that, you know, it's fine.
And being an artist on social media means you might be getting a barrage of mean comments and messages every now and then. How do you deal with the negativity?
Please, if you want to start thinking about trolls, I've told you, I mean, you might as well, you know, I mean, we shouldn't be that shallow ourselves that, you know, just block them and report them. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
And lastly, what film or series can we look forward to seeing you in?
I know for a fact that Inside Edge 3 is going to come this year sometime. But apart from that, I don't know who is ready with their stuff. A lot of my films are in post-production, so I'll know when you would know.
What's the first thing that you're going to be doing once this lockdown ends?
I'll go to Calcutta to see my mother.
So you must be missing your family, I mean.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm okay, but yeah, I'll have to see her. It's been a while. Yeah.
Thank you, Shravani. Thank you so much for talking to us. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.